For years, he was the adventurous fan-favorite oldest son of the Alaskan bush people. And then, he was just gone. He was the charismatic heart of the wolfpack, the eldest son who seemed destined to lead. So why did Matt Brown suddenly vanish? From Alaskan bush people, leaving fans with a million questions and a deafening silence from his family? After years of guessing, the real story is finally coming into focus, and it's a dark tale of addiction, betrayal, and devastating accusations that the cameras never showed. A story that tore the wolfpack apart from the inside. What really happened to Matt Brown is far darker and more complex than most viewers could ever imagine. It's a story about a spiral into addiction, a desperate fight for sobriety, explosive claims of financial abuse, and a toxic, controlled environment that he says pushed him to the very brink. We're going to uncover the real reason Matt Brown disappeared, piecing together the timeline of his tragic story and revealing the shocking claims he has made against the show and the family that made him a star. For 12 seasons, millions of viewers tuned in to watch the Brown family, a self-proclaimed wolf pack, take on the harsh realities of life in the Alaskan wilderness. They were sold to us as a tight-knit unit, fiercely loyal and bound together by their unique off-grid lifestyle. Leading many of their adventures was Matt Brown, the oldest of the 7 siblings. He was the family's skilled hunter, the creative, problem solver, and the one who always seemed most at home in the wild. His easy charm and adventurous spirit made him a standout character that audiences really connected with and rooted for. In so many ways, he was the engine of the show, leading his family through some of their toughest challenges. Then, around 2019, after season 8, he quietly disappeared from the show. There wasn't some big farewell episode or a tearful goodbye. From the family, he was just gone. His face was removed from promotional materials, and his name was barely even mentioned by his parents or siblings. The show went on, but a huge piece of its identity was missing, leaving a hole that was never really filled. For years, fans were left to guess what happened, scraping together bits of information from tabloids and online forums. The official silence from both the Discovery Channel and the Brown family only made the mystery deeper. What could have happened that was so bad it would lead to the complete erasure of the firstborn son? As it turns out, the answer is a harrowing story that completely dismantles the wholesome image the show worked so hard to create. To really get how deep Matt Brown fell, you have to see how high he climbed. In the early days of Alaskan bush people, which kicked off in 2014, Matt was the perfect woodsman. He was shown as the most experienced and capable of the Brown kids, a natural leader who took his role as the oldest seriously. Viewers watched him build shelters from nothing, hunt for food in brutal terrain, and handle the tricky logistics of a life lived miles from anywhere. He had this unique mix of hands-on skills and an almost poetic way of talking about nature. He seemed to have a deep understanding of the wilderness, a genuine respect for the land his family called home. This wasn't just an act for the cameras. His skills were real, developed over a lifetime of living a way few of us can even imagine. He was the guy who could fix a generator with spare parts, track an animal for miles, or tell a captivating story around the campfire. His relationship with his father, the late patriarch Billy Brown, was a huge part of the show's early years. Billy often talked about Matt with incredible pride, seeing him as his successor, the one who would carry on the family's legacy of freedom and self-reliance. This set Matt up as a cornerstone of the Brown family identity. He wasn't just a cast member. He was the living proof of the show's whole concept, and fans absolutely loved him. They saw in him a spirit of adventure and a kind heart. Even in his extraordinary life, his struggles felt relatable. He was open about wanting a partner and feeling lonely, which made him seem more human and down to earth. Clips of him laughing, With his brother Bear, or patiently teaching his younger sisters, Rain and Snowbird, about the wild, showed a gentle side that endeared him to millions. This image of the capable, charming, and beloved oldest son is what makes his story so tragic. He wasn't a side character, he was central to the entire narrative. The show and the family seemed to rely on him. He was on top of the reality TV world, a key part of a global hit celebrating his family's way of life. But, as we often see, with the pressures of fame and family, what we saw on screen was only part of the story. Behind the happy facade of Browntown, a storm was brewing, and Matt was right in the middle of it. The good old days were coming to an end, and the first cracks were about to show. The first public sign that something was seriously wrong in Matt's world came out in 2016. While the show was painting a picture of rugged simplicity, the reality for Matt was a lot more complicated. The pressures of filming, mixed with a growing problem with alcohol, started to take a toll. In a surprisingly honest interview with People magazine, Matt admitted he had fallen into a pattern of heavy drinking. He described spending more time in the nearby town of Juneau, hanging out with what he called bad people, and making choices he knew were hurting him. He explained his drinking started as a way to cope, but quickly spun out of control. "I was spiraling," he confessed. "I was in a bad place. I saw myself spiraling, and I wanted to stop it." This public confession was a shock to fans who only saw the confident woodsman on TV. It was the first time the carefully managed image of the Brown family was cracked by the harsh reality of addiction. After this, Matt decided to check into an inpatient rehab facility for the first time, spending 35 days in treatment. The show briefly mentioned his absence, describing it as a personal journey he had to take. On camera, his family expressed their support, with Billy Brown talking about his son's bravery in facing his demons. When Matt returned to the show, there was a sense of hope. He seemed refreshed, talking openly about what he'd learned and his commitment to sobriety. It really seemed like the crisis was over. He rejoined the family and the show, and the adventures in the bush continued. But behind the scenes, the story was far from finished. The issues that had fueled his addiction, the fame, the isolation, and the complicated family dynamics, hadn't gone away. You could argue the show's very structure, which depended on the family's remoteness, might have created an environment where it was incredibly hard to get and maintain help. Plus, living your life under constant surveillance for a reality show creates a unique, intense kind of pressure. Every mistake has the potential to become a public storyline. For Matt, this meant his fight with addiction was never a private matter. It was now part of his public identity, a narrative arc in the Alaskan Bush People saga. This period was the first warning sign of the darker struggles ahead, a clear signal that the picture-perfect life on screen was hiding a painful and dangerous reality. After his first time in rehab, Matt Brown's return to Alaskan Bush People was presented as a redemption story. He was back with the wolfpack, seemingly stronger than ever. But the road to recovery is rarely a straight line, and Matt's addiction was a powerful enemy. By 2018, it was clear his struggles were not over. He had relapsed, and the situation was critical again. This time, things were different and would have much bigger consequences. He entered rehab for a second time, a sign that his battle with alcohol was a deep, ongoing crisis. While Matt was in California getting intensive treatment at the Betty Ford Center, his family was going through a massive change of their own. His mother, Amy, had been diagnosed with advanced lung cancer, and the family decided to leave Alaska for good, moving to a huge 435-acre property in the North Cascade Mountains of Washington, which they called North Star Ranch. This move was a disaster for Matt's place in the family. When he finished his treatment, he didn't rejoin them at their new home. Instead, he stayed in California to focus on his sobriety, a choice that created a massive physical and emotional gap between him and the wolfpack. While the family was starting a new life in Washington, Matt was hundreds of miles away, trying to put his life back together all on his own. The show, built entirely on the idea of a family that does everything together, had a hard time explaining his long absence. He was mostly edited out of new seasons, and if his name came up, it was in vague terms, saying he needed to do his own thing or focus on himself. This growing distance was more than just miles on a map. It was the start of a deep estrangement. That would end up being permanent. Fans noticed he was gone right away, and speculation exploded online. The contrast was stark. The rest of the Brown family was settling into North Star Ranch, creating new storylines for the show about building their new homestead. Meanwhile, Matt was in limbo. He was no longer a part of the family's daily life, and so he was no longer a part of the show. He was an outsider looking in, a founding member of the wolfpack who was now alone. This second trip to rehab wasn't just another chapter in his recovery. It was the event that severed him from the world that had defined him. The wolfpack had moved on without him, and the darkest chapter was still to come. Just as Matt Brown was fighting for his sobriety and dealing with his separation from his family, a bombshell dropped that made any return to Alaskan bush people pretty much impossible. In 2020, two women came forward with serious and disturbing allegations of sexual assault against him. These accusations, first reported by The Sun, described events that allegedly happened in 2018, right around the time Matt was spiraling and headed for his second round of rehab. One accuser, a woman who had worked as a personal assistant for the Browns, claimed Matt assaulted her in a Los Angeles swimming pool while he was heavily intoxicated. The second woman, who was reportedly Matt's manager at the time, alleged that he assaulted her just 2 days later. Both women described a man who was out of control because of alcohol. The women reported the alleged incidents to the Los Angeles Police Department. The case was later passed to the LA County District Attorney's Office, which ultimately decided not to file formal charges. But even without a prosecution, the damage was done. The accusations were incredibly serious and cast a dark shadow over Matt's image. The Discovery Channel told the media they had been made aware of the disturbing and very serious allegations years before and had agreed that law enforcement should be contacted. This statement effectively distanced the network and the show from the scandal. For a family-focused brand like Alaskan bush people, such toxic allegations were a major problem for Matt's future on the show. It's widely believed these accusations were the main reason his time on the series came to a permanent end. The family's public silence on the issue was deafening, but privately it reportedly cemented his isolation. According to reports, one of the accusers had also talked with other Brown family members about what she said happened. This likely created a rift that couldn't be repaired. The wolfpack, which always projected an image of unbreakable loyalty, closed ranks, and Matt was left completely on the outside. His brother Bear, when asked about Matt, would give short, dismissive answers, saying Matt was doing his own thing. These allegations changed Matt's story from a man struggling with addiction to something much darker in the public's mind. He went from a troubled but loved TV star to an alleged offender. While he was never charged with or convicted of a crime, the accusations alone were enough to make him unwelcome at the network and, it seems, with his own family. This was the point of no return. His personal demons had already pushed him to the edge, but these public accusations slammed the door shut for good. After being cut from the show and cast out by his family, Matt Brown went quiet for a while. Then, in April 2021, he broke his silence in a way no one expected. In a series of raw and emotional videos on his Instagram, Matt finally told his side of the story. His account didn't just question the wholesome story of Alaskan bush people, it tried to tear it down completely. This was the truth his fans had been waiting for, and it was a story of deep betrayal. Sitting in what looked like a simple home, Matt shared his version of events. "Everybody's told me that other people's secrets aren't mine to tell. he started, "but they're destroying me, and they've been destroying me for a long time." What came next was a set of shocking claims aimed right at his late father, Billy Brown, and the show's producers. The first bombshell was about money. Matt claimed that even with the huge success of Alaskan Bush People, he and his siblings saw almost none of the money the show made. According to Matt, his father, Billy, controlled all the money. "We made a lot of money off the show," Matt said, "and because my dad controlled everything, all the money went to him." He claimed the family's earnings went into one account managed by Billy, and that the kids were given what was basically a tiny allowance. Matt alleged that the family had kept over $300,000 from him and that he was left with almost no money of his own. The second, and maybe even more damaging claim, was about the show's production. In a stunning accusation, Matt alleged that his addiction problems were not just known, but were actively enabled by people working on the show. He claimed that members of the production team had given him and other family members drugs, specifically cocaine. This was a direct hit on the integrity of the whole production. If true, it would mean the people documenting his life were also helping to fuel his self-destruction, possibly to create more drama for the show. Finally, Matt confirmed what many viewers had already suspected: that much of the show was fake. He talked about the pressure to lie about how they lived and to keep up the carefully built story of being completely off-grid, even when it wasn't true. This claim hit the very heart of the show's appeal, which was built on the idea that the Browns were living an authentic life. These revelations, coming directly from Matt, offered a dark and disturbing new narrative. In his version of the story, he wasn't just a troubled addict cast out for his behavior, he was a victim of financial abuse by his own father, of a predatory production that he says fed his addiction, and of a lie he was forced to live for years. He mentioned reconciling with his father shortly before Billy's death in February 2021, but the main theme of his videos was deep betrayal and hurt. His family and Discovery have never publicly responded to these specific, damaging allegations, leaving fans to wonder where the truth lies. But for those who followed Matt's journey, his confessions offered a powerful, if one-sided explanation for why the heart of the wolfpack had vanished. In the years since his dramatic exit from Alaskan Bush People and his explosive social media posts, Matt Brown has chosen a life far away from the TV cameras and family drama. He has settled into a quiet, solitary life in the small town of Loomis, Washington. It's a tiny town nestled near the North Cascade Mountains, ironically not far from his family's North Star Ranch, but a world away when it comes to any connection. The main focus of Matt's new life is his sobriety. He has reportedly been sober since 2019, a huge accomplishment given his past struggles. Keeping that sobriety is his top priority, and he's built a simple life to support it. He works on a local farm and in an orchard, a job that gives him a sense of purpose and a connection to the land, much like his old life, but on his own terms. Instead of Discovery Channel cameras, Matt now documents his life on his own YouTube and Instagram accounts. He has built a large and supportive online community of hundreds of thousands of followers. His videos are unpolished and raw, often filmed on a phone while he works or hikes. He shares wilderness tips, talks about his personal growth, and speaks with honesty about the daily challenges of recovery. He has become an advocate for others struggling with addiction, often giving words of encouragement. Despite living relatively close to his family's property, Matt remains estranged from most of them. Publicly, the relationship seems completely broken. In 2021, his brother Bear confirmed the distance, stating that Matt was doing his own thing and that he didn't see him much. His sister Bird has also publicly stated she does not associate with him. His absence from major family events, including his father's funeral, speaks volumes about how deep the rift is. He rarely talks about his family in his videos, choosing to focus on his own path forward. His life now is one of quiet reflection and deliberate solitude. He seems happy to have traded the chaos of reality TV for the peace of the mountains. He often posts about his small victories, another day of sobriety, a new project on the farm, a quiet moment in nature, which make up his new life. He is a man rebuilding from the ground up, finding a different kind of freedom than the one his family chased on television. It's a freedom from addiction, from public judgment, and from the family dynamics that he claims nearly destroyed him. The story of Matt Brown is a cautionary tale about the dark side of reality TV. It shows how the pressures of fame, mixed with personal demons and toxic family dynamics, can lead to a spectacular downfall. He started as the hero of Alaskan bush, the heir to the Brown family legacy. But behind the scenes, a different story was playing out. One of addiction, isolation, and ultimately, what he describes as a profound betrayal. His disappearance wasn't a single event, but a slow, painful unraveling. It began with his struggle. With alcohol, got worse with his separation from the family, and hit a crisis point with the career-ending sexual assault allegations. The final act was his own series of explosive claims, of financial exploitation and an enabling production that burned the last bridges to the world he once knew. Today, he lives a life of sobriety and solitude, finding peace on his own terms but forever marked by the scandal and heartbreak. The wolfpack was torn apart from the inside, and its charismatic leader was lost in a way no one ever saw coming. What do you think? Was Matt a victim of his circumstances, a controlling family, and a toxic show? Or was he responsible for his own downfall? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And for more deep dives into the true stories behind your favorite reality shows, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update.